Okay, so welcome to what this is now, week 5. We're actually going over a little bit over week 4, what we've learned. I think we've been off for 2 weeks. I think yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks since we've all connected. Um, but I feel like what we have learned, if you guys did the video series, I feel like this is one of the most important things. So, we do talk a lot about the mental mindset. So that's one of the most important inner pieces of work. But we also have to work with outer pieces of work, meaning like handling questions and objections. That's not stuff that we can control if it comes in or not, right? So that our inner world is our mindset, the things we tell ourselves, that kind of reflect, like, our thoughts reflect our feelings push our actions is what creates our results. But once you start doing that, you can't control, as you're starting to reach out and you're becoming, brave and authentic and, talking to people, inviting them to the opportunity or inviting them to look at the products as a customer. One thing that we can't control is when people come back with questions and objections. Now, a lot of times when people come back with objections, though, if we don't have a strong mindset, what happens is we take that as like a personal comment, and we're offended by it sometimes. And the best way to be able to handle these objections is to really truly have that inner solid work to where you know who you are, you know the company you're working for, you know what the products do, you know the testimonies, like you have that full belief in it, so that when you do get these objections, you're not taking it personal. Because I mean, by a show of hands, or if you want, to even share an experience, I'm sure sometimes when you're talking to somebody and you're excited and you're telling them, this is probably the best thing that I've been involved in, this is what it's helping me with, I would really love for you to take a look. Sometimes when people object and they're like, I'm not interested, we think it as, oh, they're not interested in me, they want nothing to do with me, they're not my friend, and we kind of put up this wall and we get offensive in the way we respond to them. And so we want to be able to take the emotion out of the objections that we're receiving from people, because that's going to give us an emotional, that's where we're going to kind of start and tap in and talk to emotional IQ. Because no does not mean no right now. No does not mean no, they're not interested, fully in you or what you have to offer. The problem is we have to dissect with them, what is the no, what truly is that objection. And Justin talks about, like, and I don't know if he says it this way, but you look at it as peeling the layers of an onion. Like, there's multiple layers, and down in the core is the real true reason. And so he talks about when somebody first gives you an objection, you really want to, like, reiterate with them. So, like, let's say that Dina said, hey, this is something that I'm not interested in doing right now. That's a very, like, surface level answer to where, okay, well, why is she not interested? If we don't have a high emotional IQ, we're like, well, she doesn't care what I have to do, what I have to say, the products I have to offer. I'm not going to work with her, or I'm going to push her to the side. I'm going to go find somebody that's going to tell me yes right away. That doesn't happen often, though. So instead, what we want to do, like when we increase our emotional IQ and we use these steps that Justin's been teaching us, which I wish I had written them down. I don't, to be honest, I don't have them written down as to how he laid them out, but you really kind of want to reiterate with them, hey, Dina, I completely understand, that you're not interested right now, but I would love to learn a little bit more about what is it that you're not interested in. And then she might be like, well, I have my own products that I'm using. Oh, well, that's great. Well, what products is it that you're using? What are you trying to, like, what is the solution you're looking for? How has it been helping you so far? So you want to dig in and figure it out. And she could be like, oh, well, I've been using it for a few months. I haven't noticed any results, or the results are slowly coming, but I just don't have the money to buy other products, or I don't have the money to start a business. And then you can dig in more. Well, what I hear you saying is you're not interested, but it's not necessarily the products, but right now you're in a financial situation that is prohibiting you from being able to do something like this. And so what you do is you essentially help reiterate to them, dig in as to what their core issue is, as to why they're giving you an objection, and help them find a solution to it. And that doesn't mean the solution is, well, join right now and we're going to, solve all of your problems. That solution might not be until down the road. But what you're doing is you're giving them value. You're listening because, Justin talks about a lot of times, like when we're talking to people, we're so focused on our pitch. We're so focused on what we're going to say next that we don't even listen to what Dina has to say. And then we just blow all that off. And then we're like, oh, well, when you're ready, you can come back. Or, I'll be here. We start our next challenge next month. But instead, you're breaking it down. You're listening. You're helping them really figure out, like, what is it that's holding them back? And in some cases, you might get down to where they're like, there's really nothing holding them back. They just didn't have the value or they didn't understand what you had to offer. And because you take the time to break this down with them, to figure out what is the core of their objection, what's keeping them from even taking a look, because our job is not to just sign them up right away. Our job is to get them, I like to call it, to the next appointment or the next event. Those events could be taking a look at one of our calls on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The next event could be the 5-minute video. The next event could be that they're doing a free challenge inside our goals group, or, you're sending them testimonies. Every time you touch base with them and you're sharing more information, think of that as like the next event or the next meeting. Our goal is to keep getting them to those next little pieces until that they feel that they are ready. So if you back this up to go full circle, if all I'm worried about is what I want to say next to Dina, and I'm not really breaking down what is her core objection. She says, I'm not interested. Well, how come you're not interested? What is it that's you're not interested about? And again, you talk about products. It's not that, you go through it and it comes down to the financials. Well, if there was a way we could show you how you can make money to change that financial situation, would this be something you're open up to? So in the future, this is something that you can have on your radar. So you always want to make sure that when you're doing this transition of digging into what their main objection is and offering them a solution, it's not a pressure solution. Well, if you join us today, you can make money now, right? That's not it. It's, well, if you're open to taking a look, so when timing is right, you'll know what options you have available to you. So you're trying to, and I want you to think about this, because the way I've been in network marketing for actually going on 20 years this year, a lot of people will recruit based off of fear and like limited time. Like, well, if you don't join now, then you're going to miss the opportunity. What happens is if I'm recruited that way from somebody, like if Cindy's like, oh, well, you got to join right now, and this is your last chance. Here's my link. You should get in so we can change your money situation. Well, I'm sorry, Cindy, but I don't see any value in how what you're doing is going to change my situation, because Cindy doesn't know my situation really, because she didn't really dig in and find out. But if Shannon's like, hey, well, you know what? Knowledge is power, my friend. Let me just give you a little bit of info. Take a look at it. If it's for you, great. If not, no pressure. But I just want you to have options available, because then you're not trying to tell them we're the best company. We're the only company. They have to join us right now. You're leaving the door open to where they have options. We know there's options. So when the time comes and Dina's like, hey, I kind of want to take a deeper look now that chaos is over, and I do want to bring in another income, but I don't know what it is that I want to do. Are they going to remember Cindy that was like, well, you got to do it now? Or are they going to remember Shannon, that Shannon was not pushy, but she was just like, let me dig in and help figure out your true objection and find different solutions. And sometimes, you guys, that solution may not be us. And we have to be okay with that. But that person is going to respect you, because if it's not us and maybe they go try something else, right? And they're like, I just don't think that this is my thing. I want to go do, I don't know, UGC, like creator content. And then they realize that's not for them. They might still come back to us. So you always want to think, when we're dealing with these objections and we're handling questions, that we're doing it for long-term for one, our integrity, right? The way people look at us and the way people, because like we are the number one representative of make. And if we give a bad vibe, like we're like, I call it like the spammy recruiters, like they're out there and it's to no fault of their own. It's because they're not coached properly. We don't want to be in that arena with them, right? We want to be like, we want to level up where we are as an affiliate with Mate. And that's what's going to bring the right people into your business. Because one, if you bring somebody in off of scarcity and fear and, you know, like you got to do it now, most likely they're not going to do a whole lot because they jumped in based off of fear. And then what happens? That piles on top because then they're like, oh my God, I just joined. I don't really know what this is. I don't know how this is working. I can't do this. And then those are the ones that disappear. But if you took the time and you, in this time that you're figuring out their objections, you're building a relationship with them. Biggest thing that you're doing is you're building that trust. So they know if they do find that a partnership with you is fitting for them, they know that they're going to be able to come and have these hard conversations with you. Hey, I don't know how to recruit people. I don't know how to ask somebody if they want to look at what I'm doing, right? If your people that we're bringing in do not feel they can have this conversation or like, I'm not good at social. I have no idea what to do. Chris, I need you to help me with this. If I don't feel comfortable coming to you, you're not going to have a good recruit either that's actually going to put in the work because when people get started in this, you guys, there's going to be a lot of fear tacked on top. There's going to be a lot of comparison with them. They're going to be scared about what other people are going to think. And they have to know coming into this, the person they are partnering with is going to be willing to take the time to handle any issues that they're having in their business because you took the time in the very beginning to handle their objections that they had before they even joined. So with that, I want to see if you guys had any questions in regards to that. And then we'll talk a little bit about emotional IQ, because that's the biggest thing that's going to help us grow when it comes to questions. And one other thing on the questions, the reason why I didn't tap into that too much is because that one's super easy. As you guys know, we have a ton of resources, but the number one rule here is we're not the know-it-all, okay? Do not feel like you have to be the know-it-all because you're going to shoot yourself in the foot because the person you're talking to is going to feel like, I have to know everything before I can even start talking about it. Or there's no way I'm going to be able to know everything Jennifer knows. Like, this is not for me. But if Jennifer is pointing to the tools, right? They always say, don't be the tool, use the tool. So if you have somebody asking you like compensation plan questions, you tell them, hey, I'm learning it as I earn, but I can send you a video that will explain it, right? Let the video do it. Like whatever questions they have, do your best to use a tool so that they can see that, oh, Jennifer's just sharing materials that are already created. There's, obviously a library somewhere that she's getting this from. I don't have to know this all. And then also, we will not know every question that comes out. I had some lady that did the breakthrough, and I can't remember exactly how she asked it, but yesterday she said, can you tell me exactly how all three of these products are going to work with my body, the time frame, and what they're doing on the inside? And I'm like, well, let me send you some material. And so what I did is I have a landing page that I created for all my breakthrough customers. That's just a quick look to keep them on track. But at that point, when she asked that, I was like, this might be a good tool for everybody. So all I did was grab the resources from the boards that we already have. And it's the folder of Fit, Restored, and Lean, where it has like the nutritional facts. It has the one pager that has like all the scientific, like the study information. And then any of the white papers that were already in this board, all I did was copy it over where the customers are looking at everything. And so then I just said, hey, go take a look. You have all three products. It's going to have all of the statistical information. Any white papers are in there. Take a deep dive. Let me know what questions you have. Because I don't know how scientific she's really trying to get, or if she's just wanting me to say, well, the Fit's going to help with, increasing muscle protein synthesis and you'll feel the energy immediately. You're going to see the results in 3 to 6 weeks. Like, I don't know really what she's looking for. So I gave her the info so that I'm not the expert. So with that, always use the tools with the questions. But again, if you don't know the answer, Justin always says, that's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I will find out for you. It's the easiest thing you can do. Then you go into the chats that we have and you ask, right? So whether you're in the affiliate chat or the premier affiliate chat, I don't know if you guys are using Unity Maker chats on Facebook, or if you're in the bigger Telegram chats that is ran through the DeTracy's. Wherever you're at, ask the question. Hey, I had a customer ask me this. Can somebody help me find the answer? Do we have any materials on it? I like to do that. Or if somebody gives me, like they type it out and they say, so for instance, I had somebody that was wanting questions in regards to, oh, she had, what was the surgery? Gastro something surgery. I can't remember what it was. And she said, we don't absorb nutrients like normal people. How do these peptides work? I had no idea. So I went into a couple of chats and I said, anybody here have a testimony? Have you had this specific surgery and on the peptides? What I did is I screenshotted everybody that responded and I dropped it over to her. I said, here's what people are experiencing. Because obviously when it comes to those little bit more medical, we're not going to have papers or, we're not going to have corporate documents talking about it, but testimonies are still a piece of info that you're providing to them as a tool, and it's not you being a know-it-all. So do you guys have anything that you want to share in regards to that, in regards to what you've learned, if anything's helped? And it doesn't have to be just about this last week. It could be about, the last 4 weeks that we've been working on this. No? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit.
Dixie.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, please.
My attitude is that with this new year, there's so much information and I'm so overwhelmed. I'm trying to just tailor it down to this, and this, because I've watched everything. I've joined all the groups, etc. So this group is actually helping me focus on what needs to be done. So I appreciate what you're doing. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that because there's so much out there.
Thank you. Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that. And real quick, Shannon, before you go, one thing I will say is this is a learning curve for everybody, because I know when I started, I was like, give me it all. And then I was like, wait, it's way too much. I don't know which one to do. And this is you maturing in the business, learning what will serve you and what won't, because everything won't serve you. I always say less is more. Sometimes you'll join stuff thinking it's going to serve you, and it's okay to back out if it doesn't. Right. So you find those things because everyone's a little bit different. But go ahead, Shannon.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing. Cindy, that's amazing, because that is something like that is a skill to harness. And that's kind of been my take back from this year too, is to stop. Like I get FOMO and I want to know everything of everything. And you just can't. And then you're not really doing the income producing activities. Whereas Dixie, for setting up this group, is pretty incredible, because it's all the right actions, and yes, getting your mindset right too, but just, and to be able to voice that, and it's invaluable.
Yep. And it's a learning curve. Like you'll still because like I said, I'm going on 20 years and I'm still there's times where I'll overload myself. So I actually just had a conversation with Jennifer DeTracy, because, I help with the make goals. But every Tuesday, I also do a leadership talking point, and then I do a task of the day in our Telegram chats. And so, I reached out to her. Well, we were on a call and it got into what my goals were. It was our New Year's. It was the Wednesday, the end of season call with the DeTracy's, our team huddle. And I had made a comment about what I need to work on. So she voice noted me on the side and she's like, okay, we need to work together. She goes, but you're a huge asset with make goals. And you're a huge asset with these Tuesday talking points, but you also have your team, you have your own personal stuff. So where do you want to put your energy, and where do you think you're best going to serve for what your goals are for 2026? And do you know what my response was? I could still do them all. I love them. And so she's like, this is what we're going to do. She goes, I think you're amazing in make goals. I'm going to keep you in that asset group, in the admin group. She's like, Telegram's changing. We're only doing 3 days a week now instead of 5 days a week. I'm going to pull you from there so you can use your creativity over here. So it's still, sometimes you'll still learn. You're like, still try to take it all on. So, but with that being said, so talking about, the objections and the questions. If you're not getting questions and you're not getting objections, you're not talking to enough people. So I want you to look at that as, a lot of times when people get objections, they look at it as a problem, and actually it's not a problem. Questions and objections just is a reminder, or it's a cue for you to know that you are creating enough conversations for somebody to be looking at what you have to come back with an objection, right? Because like I said, most people, when you show them something, they don't just click the link and buy, and they're your new teammate and they're running crazy. There's a very small percentage of gems that ever even do that. Most times, the word objection is a pretty harsh word. I like to think of it as like clarification versus objection, because when they are coming to you, they're not necessarily objecting, but they don't have clarification to where they're not moving forward to that next event. And so when we're doing this, and when you guys are getting these objections, we're going to talk a little bit about emotional IQ, so that as you go out, because I'm going to give you a challenge now that the chaos of December, I mean, we started this like right around Thanksgiving in December. So for you to still be showing up is great. We had a lot of people fall off, and I get it. It's the holidays, but now fresh start, fresh year, fresh energy. But what I want you to focus on is, I really want you to focus on emotional IQ, because I'm going to challenge you to increase your conversations that you're having. And your goal is, I don't know if you guys have read the book, Go for No. Essentially, that's going to be your goal. How many people can you get to come back? And we'll say a clarity question. Let's call it that, and not objection, because objection instantly gives you like that negative energy, right? But the way that you're going to do this is like, your emotional IQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions. But not just our emotions, you have to manage the emotions of the person you're talking to. And that's why Justin says, don't just be so excited to tell them that you want to say. Hold your tongue and open your ears more, and then manage their emotions by sifting through and figuring out what is the true clarity question that you need to answer for them. And, we can give you all the scripts. We can give you all of like the word choices. But in business, like, your emotional IQ, your EQ is what's going to matter more than any of those scripts. Because most people do not decide logically in a business, to join a business, to buy a product. Most actually decide this emotionally. Then they justify logically, right? So where EQ really matters when it comes to recruiting is, again, like I said, rejection usually isn't about the opportunity. It's about the emotion tied to it. And those emotions could be fear, doubt, past experiences. Somebody didn't succeed in a last company or a last business, their timing, their self-worth. And when we can really lead these conversations with EQ, what's going to happen is, again, this is just to reiterate, people are going to feel seen. They're going to feel safe with you, and they're going to feel respected, not sold. We're not trying to sell them. We want to give them a safe place to know that they will have the support and they're joining the right people. And that's one thing I always tell people. So if anybody's ever interested in the business, my immediate thing is get them on a call, right? Not everybody's up for a call. You guys may not be where you want to do these calls yet. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays might be your best option. For me, I like to do the calls. If they're willing to get on a call with me, I know that there's a little bit more of a commitment level there. Sometimes those calls don't happen till they see a presentation, though. So I always offer it right up front and then see how it flows. But the reason why I do that is, anytime I'm on a call with them, I always let them know the reason I'm doing this call with you is because I want you to know me for who I am as a person, as a mom, and who I am with the business. Because I want you to be able to make the right decision for you on if our partnership would work well. And so that way they know maybe our personalities don't work and maybe they don't want to partner with me, but I want them to know that this call is for them to feel safe with me and to know if the partnership will be right. And what that does is I don't recruit from fear or from like scarcity, right? Because I don't want somebody that's not going to work well with me, because then it's not going to be a good relationship. I would rather them win somewhere else if we clash. And so with that, I mean that there's 3 pillars when it comes to emotional IQ and conversations. So the first one is self-awareness. This is regulating yourself first. So if you're triggered by a no, it will show. Write that down. This is something that you're going to work on. If you're triggered by a no, it shows. If you're desperate for a yes, it leaks. But if you're confident and detached, people feel it. Right? So you can't lead someone emotionally if you're emotionally reactive. And a lot of times that's our first instance when somebody says, no, I'm not interested. It's not for me. Right? So what you can do when it comes to regulating ourselves first is pause before responding. Always take a breath. And here's the hard part. As you guys know, you can't really read emotions through messages. So you might take a message thinking there's this negative emotion behind it, and there's really not. So you need to pause, take a deep breath, create a neutral tone, create some curious energy, then respond. I personally like to respond in voice message because then they can feel exactly how I feel. If you're going to do voice message, you better pause. You better take a deep breath, do some jumping jacks before, so that they feel the good energy and not this reactive energy. And then the second pillar to emotional IQ, or EQ, is empathy. Justin talks about this. Understand their perspective. So we listen to understand, not to respond, right? Justin says that. Don't worry about what you're going to say next. Worry about listening to what they have to say. Again, he says, repeat what they say so they feel heard. If you repeat that, it's just like when you meet somebody, they say to repeat their name 3 times to them. You'll remember it. And I can't remember where I heard this at, but they say one of the biggest things that any human loves to hear is their own name being said. Right? So make sure that you repeat, their name back to them. Yep. Feel, felt, found. Absolutely. I need to make sure we don't have anybody in the waiting room. No, we don't. Sometimes it won't pop up, and then also, you want to validate feelings. Validate their feelings without agreeing, to limitations, right? And what that means is when somebody has a feeling about, I won't succeed at this, you want to validate those feelings, but don't agree that they're limited to that, because then they're still stuck in that spot. So examples, is like when somebody's talking about this, you can, whatever their response is, you can come back with like, that makes sense. I can see why you feel that way. A lot of people feel that at first, and then you're going to go into speaking a vision into them. Justin's very good at this, right? But what this does by really validating these feelings and seeing where they're at is this validation is really going to lower their defense. Now they're probably going to be a little bit more open, and it wasn't necessarily that they don't have the time or they're not interested. They feel safe with you. They feel like maybe I can win at this, because most people that are out there recruiting them, they're recruiting with fear. And so people instantly object the moment somebody asks them anything. And then the third pillar is emotional regulation, which is staying grounded. You don't ever, the biggest thing that you can do is don't match their hesitation with pressure, because that's just going to push them away more. If you keep a calm energy, that's going to build trust. So that's why voice messages do really good, because they can feel that energy. If they don't want to get on a call, and maybe a call's not the right time in this conversation, Use those voice messages. That's your best friend. And then, always you want to feel, I know a lot of times, because we have these new bonuses, 105,000, people got to join by March in order to get them. You can, some people use that in their marketing, but when you're in messages, the biggest thing you want somebody to feel from you is your certainty in the business, in your team, in the systems, in the products, the certainty and you being steady versus the urgency, because that's a whole different feeling that they get, right? Like if you're just pushing and it's urgent and you got to join, but yet you're not giving them, like you're not going through these 3 levels with them. We're actually listening, validating, responding, repeating what their issues are. They're not going to feel confident or certain enough to even want to go further into the conversation with you to see if this would work for them. Write this down. Calm confidence is more persuasive than excitement. You hear a lot of people that will write posts off of hype, but it's completely different if you can market and conversate with calm confidence. So there's a couple of different, go ahead.
Will you repeat that one more time? I can't write fast enough.
No worries. Calm confidence is more persuasive than excitement. So think about that as you're doing posts, as you're communicating with people, as you're, inviting people to the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday calls. It will change everything for you, because you're not going to recruit out of fear and like, I got to get them in right now. If you take yourself back and regulate your own emotions, you're like, when the timing's right, it will work. What you're going to do to make up for the clarity questions is you're going to have more conversations, more calm conversations. So if somebody says, no, not right now, you're not in this urgency of, I need to recruit somebody because I haven't had anybody join my team this month. Have enough conversations, doing it the way Justin's teaching us and what we're learning in these series, the right person will come. We don't need 500 people on our team. Justin always talks about this. He says, if you can recruit one like all-star person a year, and you do that for 5 years, you can create a multi-figure business. So it's finding the right people. And we're not here for a sprint. Like, we're here for longevity. We go through sprint spurts, which is fine, but it's not 100% of the time doing sprints. So, really use this EQ to your advantage. So some different things, we'll go over some different ways to handle these clarity questions. Is a lot of people, like, this is one of the number one response, I need to think about it. Everybody wants to think about it. But what they feel is like uncertainty. They feel fear of making the wrong decision. And the way you can respond is, again, they agree with them, validate with them and say, yeah, I totally understand. But what specifically do you need clarity on to be able to think this over? Because if they need to think about it, what are they thinking about? There's so much that they could think about. And then ask, just do a gentle follow-up and then give them space. Right? You don't want to do the pressure. They're going to respect that more than they would with somebody that's trying to pressure them. Or a lot of people say, I don't have the money. Very common. And again, it's fear. Fear leads almost every decision, guilt, and vulnerability. And so you can respond with, I respect that. Finances matter. And then you can reframe it and say, and Justin talks about this, if money wasn't the issue, would this be something you'd want? Well, yes, of course it'd be something I want. Well, because then what that does is that uncovers their truth without forcing anything. And so you can say, okay, there's no pressure. This may or may not be for you. And I always use this line, knowledge is power. I would love if you would be open to just checking it out, so that in the future, you have options available to you. they might just check it out now. You're not asking them to sign up. You're not asking them to buy product yet. You're asking them to see if this would be something that they would be interested in. And then one that you get a lot too is I don't want to bother people. I don't want to sell. And those people have fear of judgment, of rejection, and self-doubt. So they have a lot of their own inner work that they need to do. And what you can do is, you can respond again. That makes sense. Or I completely understand. I felt the same way as you when I started. Nobody wants to feel salesy. But that's actually why we teach sharing from experience, sharing people's experiences and not selling. And so, that's something I always talk about with people too. I'm like, a salesman is somebody that is selling a Bugatti and he drives a Honda Accord, right? We're not doing that. Like we're using the peptides and we feel absolutely amazing. And we just want others to feel the same way. I'm just sharing my experience to see if this would be for you. Right. And so that's what I kind of tell people is like, but also there's another book that I read I want you guys to think about. And I wish I remembered all the names of these books. They all just kind of blend in at one point, right? Part of like little nuggets that I retain is everything in life is sales. But the word sales makes people think it's like scammy and it's annoying. And I had this conversation with my son because I've been trying to get my son to do Make Wellness. He's 19. He's got the perfect, he could do very well. I think our younger generation, they know how to use social so much better than us. And he's like, I don't want to be salesy. That's not, all the typical stuff. And I told him, I said, son, everything you do in life is sales. I was like, if you want a raise, you better sell yourself to your boss that you did an amazing job this last year and you deserve it. And I'm like, when you went and bought your 370Z, you sold yourself in a way to get a better deal on that car. And, and so everything in life, when you want a deal, what do? You use sales techniques to barter with people to get a better deal, to get that next raise. What about when you're interviewing? You are promoting and selling yourself to get that job. Everything we do in life is sales. It may not all be, rewarded monetarily, but that is how the world works. So if we can use that to our advantage, to create an income for it, why would that not be something somebody wants to look at? And then another one too is confidence. This is a big one. That's why we've been working on the confidence in the inner world through this whole series. Is a lot of times we're like, I'm not good at this. In my mind is like, have you even tried it to know if you're good at it? You haven't, but you don't respond with that, right? Because, that's going to push them back. But, really they have low self-esteem or a low, self-image as to why they feel that way. And so you can, again, validate, say, I completely understand. Like, I didn't feel I would ever be good at this either because I've never done it before when I first started. That's one of the best lines you can use is, I thought I was going to feel the same because I had never done it before when I first started. It's common sense. Like, if it's your first time, like everybody has to start something for their first time before they ever become good at it. But then you can lead it into, but you don't need confidence to start. I'm going to help you with that, but your confidence is going to be built through action. And we're going to teach you those action steps. We're going to help you with that growth. So you want them to realize that it's going to take growth, but they won't grow if they don't actually get into some type of action. If they stay where they are, they will stay where they are. And then, the biggest thing, just to kind of reiterate some of this, handling these clarity questions. I hate using the word like rejection and objections. With emotional maturity, again, a no is not personal. We know that. A not now is not rejection. They need more information. And with us, if we can become emotionally intelligent leaders, we don't chase validation. And a lot of times that's why a lot of people quit in this business. is they're waiting to be validated by Joe Smo that they don't even know on Facebook because Joe told them no and said that we're in a pyramid scam. They're going to quit on their dreams because they're waiting for that person to validate them. You need to validate yourself. You need to not wait for somebody else to tell you what you're doing is worthy. You are worthy. The products work. The company works. I mean, we have the proof, right? And so really what you want to do is just, I guess the best way to explain it is detached confidence is magnetic. Okay. Because that confidence is not you seeking validation, right? It's a different type. There's different types of confidence, right? So if you think about detached confidence, you're detached from the outcome of what other people say, do, and think about you. That confidence is, I believe in what I'm doing. I don't care what you say. I'm going to keep spreading the word. That is magnetic, right? So, continue to stand out like that on your social and just internally reframe these clarity questions. Instead of they rejected me, they told me no, they're not ready. They're not ready yet. And that's okay. When they are ready, if we're the right fit. And I always like to say this, if we are the right fit, because not everybody's going to be the right fit. So if they join somebody, and I've had to learn a lot of EQ on my own, where I've had conversations with people and then they go join somebody else in the business. And I'm like, whoa, like what, why did they not join me? And then all of a sudden I'm like, what did I do wrong? And now it's all about me. I've had to come in and tell myself that's okay. Something did not click with them to work with me. And that's fine, because I'll find the next right person. This, you guys, is really going to protect your energy. And when you can protect your energy and protect your emotional EQ, this is when you can stay consistent. Because if you let every no, if you let every clarity question, if you let every, message of somebody that ghosts you or comments of, I don't get them much anymore, but some people still kind of get nasty comments on their socials. Like those people, I bless, release, block, and they're no longer like anywhere on my socials. But if you are consistently looking for that validation and you get the negative response of it, and then you stop, and then you start and go, and you start and go, that's going to destroy your business. Like you have to stay consistent. So create this high EQ to protect your energy. And then when we're doing this and we're using our EQ in recruiting, I want you to stop trying to convince them. Okay. Start trying to understand them. That's going to make a huge shift. Again, when they feel respected and not cornered, they'll be open to the info. So emotional, this is something I want to leave you guys with. High emotional IQ allows you to lead with confidence, compassion, and clarity without attachment to the outcome, right? That's one of those uncontrollables that we cannot control. So when we stop reacting emotionally to these clarity questions, you will start attracting emotionally mature partners. And that is what we want, right? We don't want somebody that comes in off of hype and is a basket case and you can't ring them in and you can't coach them and they're just all over the place. Because then you go through another phase of, this EQ that you have to regulate for yourself and regulate for them. And we don't want that. We want somebody that comes in that's emotionally mature, because those are the people that will succeed at this. So that's really what I had in place of, what Justin talked about, handling the questions and concerns. Again, if you go through, he gives you kind of the framework of the validation, reframing what I hear you saying is like, he gives all that. So write those down and use them, but make sure when you use them, you're doing it with a high EQ. So I don't have anything else for that. For your recruiting, I'm going to have you guys do this on your own. The plan was to do 30 minutes of sending these messages out. Although I feel like as we've been doing this, it's been taking us about an hour to kind of get through the materials. But I want you guys to hold yourselves accountable, because even if we jump off of this, like, it's going to be very easy for you to not go out and start conversations about the calls that we have this week. I can encourage and I can give challenges, but only you can hold yourself accountable. So decide what your goals are, not just for the year, but for this month, and then decide what your actions are going to be. My actions are always going to be inviting somebody to our calls every week. Now, I did see a flyer. I'm going to go get it. And Tuesday night, so I thought it was Wednesday nights. They're kind of adjusting things, which is fine. It doesn't matter. We have calls every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But tonight, in fact, let me see if I can find it. It's a man's, or not tonight. Today's Monday. Tuesday is a man's call. But still invite, if you like, most of us are probably talking to females, but you can say, hey, there's this really great call that's happening tomorrow night. I thought it would be great for you and your husband to jump on. Let me go and find it. It just popped up yesterday, but I try not to pay attention to social media on Sunday. So, oh, there we go. It's called Make Men Talk. And they got a pretty cool little flyer. So I'll drop it in the chat. And it's peptides and blue collars. And I was like, that's kind of cool. You know, like a lot of the blue collar men, like maybe they'll be drawn to it. And it says for men who want more than a workout. So they're going to get on and talk about peptides. They'll talk about the business at the end. So I'll send that over. So Chris, all of our calls for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is on the landing page that I have for you guys, the recruiting blueprint landing page that I just tagged at the top. So it's always the same time and the same Zoom. I'm in another team. So there's 3 different teams that have come together that host Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't want to be in all of them to know everything that, like, because who's doing what. I was put in one chat, and this is where they update. So they do change the flyer for every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on who's speaking. I don't have the bandwidth for that. So that's why it's same link, same time, no matter what they're going to talk about or who is speaking, or even if tonight's a man's one, anybody can still get on them. So that's why I don't go find all the individual flyers, because that's just too much work. But this one stood out to me, so I'll send it over. But it should be on, if you go, it should be right there along the top. So it's the same link, same time, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I will pop this over so that you guys have the one for the Make Men. And I will ask them if that's going to be every Tuesday, because I know at one point the men's call was going to be every Wednesday. So they may have changed it. And actually, you know what, let me read it, because now that we're thinking about it, I think it's bi-weekly is what they have worked out. So let me go look real quick. So join us. Oh my gosh. Join us Tuesday for our 2nd episode. So yeah, these are new. So bi-weekly all men's call. So it is bi-weekly. So it must be this Tuesday and next Tuesday. But for me, that's too much for my brain to process. We have a call every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whether a man or a female, get on them if they're available. You know, and if a female gets on the man one, guess what? She's probably going to think about her husband, be like, oh my God, he needs to hear this. Right. So I don't worry about like if they're specialized for specific niches, because I'm just like, just jump on, because I can't think of all that. So do you guys have any questions or anything that we want to go over before the top of the hour? Do you feel that, you know, I mean, Cindy, you already said that this has really been helping you with like that clarity and figuring out what to do and what actions to take. Is there anything that you would like to talk about? If everybody's good, I'll give you 7 minutes back to your day. But I'm going to challenge you to invite to this week. It's a new year. People have New Year's resolutions, kind of all the chaos is in the back. this is a good time to refresh and to follow up with others that you've also invited as well. And then my challenge would be, I mean, I'm not going to give you a specific number because everybody's in a different part of their business. I want you to pick what is that number going to be. And remember, it's not about how many get on because we can't control that. Granted, we want a lot of people on, but you can control how many you're going to ask this week. So it doesn't have to be just today, right? Because we have 3 days of calls that they can get on. Make a goal. And I suggest, actually, this will be the challenge. Jump into our chat and put my goal is to invite, and then however many people you're going to invite for tonight's call, or not tonight, for this week's calls. Then hold yourself accountable. And after Thursday night, come back in and say, this is how many I actually ended up inviting for this week. We care if they get on, but we don't get so emotionally tied to if they get on or not. Like our goal is to invite them. They say yes, we follow up with them and say, we'll see you in 5 minutes. And then you follow up with them after the call, right? Because we do want them to get there, but we can't control it. We can control asking and then following up if they say yes. So Cindy, your goal is to invite 3. If you'll go drop that in our Facebook goals group, I always forget the name of it, the participation chat for the
I was
blueprint.
going to ask what am I supposed to, where is all the stuff being pinned? So it's called participation chat.
Yes, let me see if you're in there.
I don't know.
Here, I'm tagging you right here. So I named it participation chat, thinking into results is the name of it. That's where but there's not a lot of conversation that happens in there because less is more, but it's more just updates and here's your homework. We'll see you at this time. So did you get that message to pop up on your Facebook Messenger?
It says right here, I didn't see a link or anything. Or do I just click on my name? Maybe I do. I don't know.
So are you just looking to leave a comment or are you looking for the landing page for everything?
The landing page.
Okay, so if you look at the top, I don't know if you're on your phone or your computer. I think it should be about the same. At the
So our
top,
computer.
it should show like a link that's pinned. And it will say Total Recruiting Blueprint.
I've got that.
That's the link that has everything.
So like the flyer you were just talking about.
The flyer's not there because,
Okay.
like I said, that's an individual design. And I just don't want to keep updating every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But if you go there, you'll see we have just this. I have one standard flyer that's called the Make Experience Calls. And it tells you the day, the time, and the link to join. So I'll drop that. Let me drop that link in the chat again so you can access it. Or did you get to it already?
No.
Okay. Sometimes the
Got it.
links or the pinned posts, some
Yeah.
people have been having problems where it's not popping up for them, but save that to your phone.
Okay.
So that should be at the top of it should now be in that chat.
Okay.
And then that is kind of where everything is housed. So here shortly, I'll let you guys know in the chat, we will have week 5 homework up. So it will tell you, what we're going to watch for week 5. There'll be like a personal development video in there that I always encourage you to watch throughout the week as well. And then this is really just where we kind of keep everything housed.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, I saw some of you already comment in the chat. I'll get over in there and I'll put my mine in as well, what my goal is. And then I'll get the homework posted and then we will see you guys next week on the 12th. All right. You ladies have a great day. Enjoy.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dixie.